Good morning, coming to you live from BHK Central here in Sydney, Australia. How are you this morning? Hope you're doing good. We've got a really exciting topic to talk about today, and I'm potentially I should get a microphone. That's better. I'm potentially introducing a term to you guys that you may not have come across before, and that is menopot or middle age spread, or whatever you want to call it, right? It's that unfortunate but very, very common occurrence that can happen as we start to age. So, going sometimes from our 30s, or for some people, even in their 20s, and, kind of continuing through life in a very uncomfortable and often unflattering style. I am, of course, talking about belly fat. And yeah, we're going to be discussing belly fat today. And I think it's a really important time to talk about it. And I can tell you why in a second. But um, my goodness, did I have a rude awakening last night? I was doing some scrolling. Good morning, Georgina. Good morning, Sandra, as well. Good morning, people joining us from our nation's capital, the capital of Australia. We've got Georgina joining us from Canberra. And then we've got Sandra, who's joining us all the way from the beautiful Gold Coast up in Queensland. So hello, ladies. Good morning. So yeah, we are talking about the menopot today, or that middle-age spread, or belly fat, or whatever you want to call it. I used to call it always looking like I was, 6 months pregnant, when I absolutely was not pregnant. In fact, I often looked better when I was pregnant because at least I had a reason to, you know, uh, describe what was happening in my midriff. And as I was saying, I had a bit of a rude awakening last night. Oh, good morning to Janine, joining us from the Riverina. Now, the Riverina that is in New South Wales. Am I correct? Delinquent. She's coming to us from Delinquent today. Pretty chilly. It's actually getting warm here finally in Sydney. You've noticed I've stopped complaining about the weather. I've stopped doing my morning weather report because it's actually quite pleasant at the moment. The old middle age spread, and I wasn't even middle aged at the time. I didn't think I was, but my goodness, my belly was telling me things opposite. And so I was doing some scrolling last night. I was putting together, working on some content, as you do. It's about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. I'm still working away there, putting together some content for our social media channels. And I was actually creating a little video, which I'll share later on today. I was creating a little video, one of my little mini cooking reels that I do, reminding people just how good my fiber waffles are. Because now we've got this new high protein, high fiber waffle, and I'm calling it good poop waffles because they help you stay regular. Oh, I know, right? So I'm putting together this little reel last night, and I was looking for some images of me, previous images from previous years. So I was kind of going back in my Google Photos album quite extensively. I ended up going right back to 2016. And the more I scrolled and the more I looked, the more I kind of was like, oh, okay, one thing I'm noticing, one thing that's really obvious right now as I'm scrolling away last night, you know, working away, beavering away as it was. And as I'm scrolling, I realize there's just no photos of me. Like now I go through my Google Photos album and it's just like photo after photo after photo. I'm just like, my gosh, someone's got a bit of a complex. There's just so many photos of me. There's photos of my husband. There's just, I don't have a problem being in front of a camera. Whereas back in 2016, so we're going back 9 years ago. That's how far I went back. I didn't quite go back to 2015, but I got stuck in 2016 because I really noticed 2016, 2017 especially, there was no photos of me. There was lots of photos of food, and it was so eye-opening that the photos in my Google Photos, as it's going back, so the things that I've collected on my smartphone, on my phone for the last, over a decade, lots of photos of food. But my goodness, the food was, and it was like, no wonder I wasn't my best. No wonder I was sick. No wonder I was overweight. No wonder I was suffering. No wonder I was pre-diabetic. No wonder I had fatty liver disease, because it was just like really poor examples of food, lots and lots of carbs, lots of carbohydrates, lots and lots of carbohydrates, lots of pies, lots of pastries, lots of things of wedges and chips and all sorts of stuff that barely goes anywhere near me now, and lots of alcohol. So no wonder I was feeling so horrible. Like, it was literally this eye-opening moment of, oh my God, like, what the actual heck? No wonder. It was a running commentary, almost like a diary of my life at the time, that showed some happy moments. Don't get me wrong, but I can probably count on two hands and maybe one foot the amount of photos I took of myself or that I was in within that 2016 year. Now I do that in the space of about a minute. Selfie, 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 selfie. Like literally, there was no photos. But I found one video of me, and I was in Adelaide, and I was doing a cooking demonstration, a live cooking demonstration for a street fair that they had in Adelaide. And I must have been there. I would have been representing a company, as a chef. So I saw this photo or this video of me, and I was like, it stopped me in my tracks, because there was such little evidence of who I was physically at the time, except for this video that I took of myself. As I'm looking at the video of myself, it brought back really vivid memories of what I had to do in order to live that moment out in public, and the amount of energy I remember putting into it, like psyching myself up. I was high on Red Bull. I remember that I had bought a little esky with me to this live cooking demonstration that I was doing on the street. And I'll show you guys the video in a second. I bought this little esky with me, and I had filled it up with, did I say esky? Chili bin. Apologies. I bought a chili. Oh, I've really just showed my hand, haven't I? Even though I've got an All Blacks top on, an All Blacks hat on. I bought my esky with me, and I had filled it full of sugar-free Red Bulls. Not that they're very good. They're not good. It's sugar-free garbage. It's full of, artificial sweetness. But anyway, and I remember just being like high on Red Bull and coffee. And I had already spotted down the road, because it was on the road, this beautiful area in Adelaide, by the way. It was gorgeous street fair they had set up. And I had spotted down the road a company that had set up a beer stand, and they were giving away free samples of their beer. And so for me, I was just like, as the minute I finished this cooking demonstration, I'm going there. Like, I'd already worked out my exit strategy after I'd done I think I had like a 25 or 30 minute set live cooking right in front of people and stuff like that. So it was, there was a lot of memories that came flooding back by seeing this video, because I hadn't actually seen me in a long time. And not only was it seeing the video, I was then reminded how I refused to wear an apron for this cooking demonstration. I'd been given, like, I was wearing my chef's jacket, but I'd also been given a apron with the brand on the apron, and I just refused to wear it. I remember getting given it and just going, yep, no worries. And then there was just no way I was going to put it on. And the reason I wasn't going to put it on is because it would make my belly stick out. And I was so incredibly almost paralyzed in fear that I didn't want my belly to stick out. So I was wearing a really big chef's jacket to hide everything that I could. But I remember that moment watching that video last night, lying in bed, working away. I was creating content. It's amazing. I can work from bed sometimes. It was quite late. So I was kind of half lying down, doing some work on my phone, creating some content. And I just remember thinking, I remember that moment. I actually got told off by the brand that I was representing because I refused to wear their apron. Or I just said, oh, geez, I forgot after the event finished. But actually, I remembered why. My belly. I was paralyzed by how I felt and how I looked. And one of the things that used to upset me the most was my belly. So we are talking about it today. How can we ditch the Menopot, right? The middle-age spread. I'm going to give you guys today 5 of not just my top tips, but this is all according to science. 5 ways, 5 things, 5 behaviors, 5 pieces of knowledge that can help us not to just lose that belly fat, but lose it for good. Because once you understand the mechanisms involved when it comes to why we tend to put weight onto our belly when we don't put weight on other areas, like there's actually science behind it, right? It's not because you've got bad luck. It's not because, how come, I can lose weight on my legs, but I can't lose it on my belly. There is actually science behind it. So we're going to discuss that today. But before we do, and hello to Holly. Hello, my darling. Good to see you. Before we do, my mother's giving me a hard time. Esky wrapped in a doona. That's right, Mum. And then I'm going to have a VB. I'm going to have a VB, not a lion red. I'm going to pull the VB out of my esky. And yeah, she'll be right, mate. She'll be right. Is that a Kiwi thing? She'll be right. Well, it sounds like it's both. I think we both into use those ones. So I've got a video to show you guys. This was me 2016, by the way. Like I said, kind of freaked me out. All right. No one's seen this, by the way. You guys are the first person to see this. I recorded it and then never, ever, ever, ever did anything with it afterwards. And I probably know why. It's because I would have looked at it and gone, there's no way I'm going to show that to anyone. But hey, here we are. Here we are, 2025, and I'm finally sharing this video, this quick little video that I made. So I did work on the video too. So by the way, what you're seeing is what I worked on last night, the content that I created. So here we go.
I'm going to need that water in a second. I'm going to need more than that.
So that first bit of that video was me at that fair, me at that street fair, about to go live. And as Mahay so rightly said when I showed him the video that I found last night, he's just like, wow, the inflammation is off the chart. It was off the chart. And yeah, I have to agree with him. I've got a big smile on my face, but please do not be fooled by that smile, because that took a lot of work to get to that point where I was smiling for that video. And yeah, like I said, it was just it was wow. It was a real awakening moment to see myself, because that's it. That's the one video of me that I recorded in 2016. It's 8 seconds long, right? And that's it. Whereas now I go live 3 to 4 times a week for over an hour. Like, you always see my face everywhere you go. But in 9 years ago, it was 9 years ago. That was it, right? For a whole year. And I know why there was no photos of me, there was no videos of me in 2016, because I was miserable. I was absolutely miserable. And when there were photos of me, the other thing I noticed, and like I said, I can count the amount of photos on one hand and one foot. There's about less than 15 photos of me throughout the whole entire year. I think it's probably more like less than 10, actually, when I think about it, because I really struggle to find those before photos because I just never used to take them. But when I was, when I was finally in front of a camera doing a selfie, and there were very few of those, it was never below the chest. I've got no photos of me or videos of me 2016, before that, and also 2017 as well, that were, well, 2017, I think I took one photo that was in that video that was almost a full length photo, but I wouldn't do that because one of the things that used to really, really upset me was my belly and how big my belly was. And, I was sticking out both sides when I would stand sideways. I remember looking in the mirror and my belly was bigger than my butt. And it was I just couldn't fathom how I had become this person. So seeing that video last night, I had to put together how I've progressed because, I was absolutely to the belief, and there was some, I'm not going to name names. They're not on this call, by the way, but there was people within my own family that were I suppose, less than supportive when it came to my journey. And being told, "Oh, don't even bother, it's not even worth it. Here you are, you're old, you're middle-aged now, let's just get on with it, this is your lot. Why bother even trying? This is just what happens when we get to our 40s, as I was in my very early 40s during that video, very early 40s. And I'm so glad I didn't believe them. I'm so glad I decided to forge ahead without even knowing where I was going. I had no idea at the time when I started doing this journey that the end result would be me sitting in front of you right now today, talking about, discussing with you, sharing with you, inspiring you, motivating you, giving you the knowledge on how we don't have to settle if we're not happy with the way we look and with our health. No one has to settle. We all have the capability. We all have the opportunity. Every single one of us that's on this call, if you're watching this live, let me know in the chat if you are, or if you are watching this recorded, you have as much opportunity and chance as I do of becoming the person that you want to be. You have just as much chance as me. You have just as much opportunity as me. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Because if I can do it, anyone can do it. Because, we all fight our demons. We all have our moments. We are all busy. We are all got competing, priorities. We've all got self-doubt. We've got every single one of us has this cocktail of emotions. We have people that tell us, don't do it, don't bother. We have, people who look down on what we're doing. Even now, I have family members who kind of like, like they turn their nose up at who I've become. I don't care. I was going to do it anyway, right? I did not listen. And I've got a bit of a history of not listening when people tell me to do stuff. It's actually, that definitely tracks. That definitely tracks. But that one area of my body that I just couldn't quite get my head around was my belly. So we're going to talk about it today. I'm going to give you guys 5 top tips from functional nutritional science. So these are the things that science tells us works, not my opinion, This is science we're talking about. And if you trust the science and at the same time eat lots of delicious food, you are going to have success. There are people on this call right now who understand exactly what I'm talking about. They have trusted the science and they have not just been successful in their journey, they are keeping the weight off. Because it's one thing to lose it, as we know. How come I have been now at a weight that I really enjoy physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, every way possible for nearly 9 years? How is that possible? Am I lucky? No, it's not got nothing to do with luck. This is to do, yes, with a bit of work. It does take work. People actually accuse me, oh, she's had work. And I'm like, I work at this every day. Thank you very much for noticing. They just assume I've had like weight loss surgery or plastic surgery or something, right? I'm just like, thank you for noticing that I actually work at this. Yeah, it does take work, but it doesn't take luck. It takes trusting and believing in the science. I'm going to share with you guys 5. If you have been wondering, hoping, looking for ways that you can reduce down that midsection, the menopot, the middle spread, the belly fat, I'm going to give you guys the science because it is science. And once you start trusting the science, your body will respond. It will respond to what you want it to do. And it's beautiful when these things happen. It is a beautiful moment when we all realize, we just go, wow, wow, that actually works. Thank you. So to Linda, watching live, waiting for 5 points. Yeah, don't worry, Linda, it's coming. I had to build it up first, to build up the moment, because there is a moment that has brought us all here. So here we go. For Linda and anyone else who's been waiting for the 5 points, I hope you come and see me, not just for my knowledge, but you actually come and enjoy my conversations too. All right. So number 1, this is, and again, science, here we go. If you do this, more than belly fat will be what you lose. You will lose inflammation. You will lose mood dysregulation. Like, this works for many things, but how it specifically works with belly fat is really important. So number 1, you need to make sure you are always balancing and regulating your blood glucose. I'm talking about your blood sugar. If you're not understanding the role that blood glucose or blood sugar plays in your journey, then you're missing out on one of the most important parts of weight loss and health gain. Everything that you eat gets converted into glucose, aka sugar. That sugar or glucose then floods into your bloodstream, and your bloodstream moves it all around the body, because that's what the blood does, right? You've got glucose and sugar, or sugar in your blood. Your blood is pumping all around the body, so you've got all this sugar and glucose floating around your body. And your body will use that glucose as energy, because here's the thing, food is energy for the body. But when you're putting food into your body that far out uses the amount of, or out exceeds the amount of energy your body needs to get you through your day, that excess energy, glucose, your body needs to do something with it. It doesn't pee it out. It doesn't poop it out. So it needs to do something with that excess energy that is now floating around, flooding into your bloodstream. So the body will then store that energy to use later. But if you don't use that energy goes through a conversion, and that's how we create fat in our cells. That's how we put on weight, is that we don't use up all the energy that's floating around, all that glucose that's floating around in our blood, and eventually the body will store that. And if you don't use that energy that's now being stored, it is converted into fat. This process doesn't take very long, by the way, for that fat conversion process to happen. So it makes sense that you don't want to have too much glucose floating around your body. You want to have enough so your body can survive, your heart can beat and your brain can work and your muscles can, you want to have enough glucose. But if you've got too much glucose in the blood, because you keep on eating the wrong types of food, this will imbalance and dysregulate your blood sugar. Now, the reason why this is directly linked to your belly is that all that glucose creates a lot of insulin being released from your pancreas, because the insulin's job is to move all that glucose around, right? It makes sure that glucose doesn't just sit in one spot. Glucose, by the way, is quite inflammatory. The body finds it inflammatory. So insulin's job is to move it all around so it doesn't just kind of hang out in one spot. Insulin's other job is to store it if you don't use all that energy. Insulin's other job is not just storage, but insulin's other job is it's almost like a security guard. And when you've got a lot of insulin because you've got a lot of glucose, that security guard that's sitting on the outside of that fat cell stops allowing the body to use that stored energy. So you're getting these insulin spikes from all the blood glucose, all the glucose that you're eating, all the energy that you're eating. And insulin is a hormone. Remember, it's insulin's job. It transports the glucose around, stores the glucose, acts as a security guard on the cells, in your fat cells as well. This is known as being insulin resistant. Your security guard, which is insulin, is resisting the body's need to use that energy use that fat as energy. So you're insulin resistant. But the other thing that insulin does, it's a very, very clever hormone, by the way. Insulin directs the body to store that excess of glucose around your belly. Insulin also is a director. It's like, you know what? We're going to store all that excess of glucose right on your belly. So it makes sense then, in order to keep your insulin spikes down and to stop insulin from directing where you store fat, and it loves to store it on the belly, is we need to balance those blood sugars, because the more sugar you have in your blood, the more insulin your body's going to release. So blood sugar regulation management is really important to the belly fat conversation. So how can you manage your blood sugar without, testing it every day? I'm sure many of you don't have the ability to test your blood glucose or your blood sugars every day. You don't have to. What you can do is definitely work on these things. So eating foods in the right order is going to help to balance your blood sugar. One of the things we always talk about in Boost Camp is to eat in the right order, right? So you've got to start with the food that's not going to give you a massive blood sugar spike. So you don't start with bread. You don't have dessert first, right? You don't start with fruit, which again is a sugar, natural sugar. You start with, and hopefully every single one of you just said it before I said it, you start with fiber, right? Where's my fiber? Here's my fiber today. You can't really see it. It's all wrapped up. I'll take it out. I just pulled this out of the freezer as I was running out the door this morning to come to BHK Central. Oh, there you go. You guys all know what that is, right? That's one of my flaxseed fiber waffles. So that's how you would start. You'd start with fiber. Fiber in vegetables, fiber in flax seeds, fiber in one of my waffle breads, fiber, ideally vegetables, because there's a lot of nutrients in them. And fiber will help to slow down the emptying of the stomach, which means you won't get as much of a blood sugar spike. Balance, right? Balancing out your blood sugar. So you start with your fiber. And ideally, like I said, it's fibrous vegetables. A potato is not a fibrous vegetable, by the way. Neither is a pumpkin. Most root vegetables are non-fibrous. You want to go for the high fiber ones, like the ones that we just know are so good for us. The broccolis and the cauliflowers, right? The Swedes and the fennels, the mushrooms and the eggplants and the zucchinis, and all those wonderful dark leafy, spinach and silver beet, kale, all those types of wonderful fibrous vegetables is how you should start every single meal, because you want to balance out your blood sugar. Fiber first, followed up by protein. And what is protein? This is the stuff that we're going to talk about next, right? So we go fiber, then we go protein, and then we go healthy fats. If you're going to eat any carbohydrates, even if they're naturally occurring carbohydrates, not highly refined ones, like, if you're eating, say, sweet potato, which is a a carbohydrate, but it's obviously had no processing done to it if you're cooking it yourself, you want to eat that last. If you're having any type of fruit or sweet item that may give you a bit of a blood sugar spike, you want to eat that last as well. You want to start with your fiber always, every time you eat. Even if you're having lunch, start with your fiber. Even if it's breakfast, start with your fiber. Even if it's dinner, start with your fiber. So that's how you can naturally help to balance out your blood sugar. And if you are, this is another way that you can do it. If you are eating a carbohydrate, try to have it last, but pair it with something else. So for example, if you are having some sweet potato, eat it with chicken, right? Have it with protein. Connect it up. This is going to help to slow down the emptying of your stomach, which will get less of a blood sugar spike. Because remember, insulin spikes, this hormone directs your body where to store fat, and it loves to store fat around your belly, around your midsection. So that is number one. Okay, number two. I say this all the time as well, but we need to discuss it in terms of belly fat. Prioritize your protein, because protein, number two, is your metabolic engine. So many of us know, protein is absolutely critical. It's crucial for preserving muscle mass, right? And as we age, we naturally slow down, right? It's a natural part of aging is that we slow down. And as we slow down, we naturally begin to lose some of our muscle mass. So this is a direct link to aging. And if you are already sedentary and you don't refer to yourself as aging yet, I mean, we age every day, but you know what I mean? If you're in your 20s, or your early 30s and you're already sedentary, you're getting muscle mass loss because you're not moving. So sedentary lifestyle, regardless of age, will lead to muscle loss. But as we age, we do slow down. We just do, even if we try not to. And I try not to, but I just recognize that, it's just a part of, being 50. That I'm not as quick as when I was 20. I'm getting there though. I am, because it can be worked on, by the way. Just because I'm 50 doesn't mean I can't be as fast, if not faster than when I was 20. This is what I am understanding, is that, if you don't use it, you lose it. So protein and prioritizing your protein is a real important part of aging. It's a real important part of preserving our muscle mass as well, because protein is the building blocks for our muscles and our fibers, all our cells. And more muscle means you're going to have a higher, more well-functioning metabolism. So I'll say that again. More muscle mass means you're going to have a faster metabolism. And this is really important, because if your metabolism is slowing down, you're going to be storing more fat as energy because your metabolism is not working as fast. So in order to prevent that belly area from starting to really become pronounced, and I just had to look back at what I used to eat in 2016, and as I was saying, it was all highly refined carbohydrates. It was just picture after picture, image, meal after meal, restaurant meal, meals at home. Everything was carbohydrate heavy. And there was no fiber, by the way. And there was actually very little protein. I ate a lot of pastries, I realized. A lot of pastries, a lot of cheese. Gosh, there was so many images of me sitting in front of a cheese board with crackers. It was, the only fiber I had on there was just an olive, like there was nothing. Absolutely nothing. So number two, prioritize your protein, because that's going to ensure that your metabolism or your metabolic fire is keeping up with you. And of course, when you were talking about protein, the type of protein that is really going to help is animal protein. It's just a better form of protein for our body. Not saying that you can't get away with plant-based protein. You're just going to need to consume more of it and be more on top of, especially if for anyone who is vegetarian, I definitely recommend that you are more aware of the nutritional balance in your body than, say, someone who is an omnivore. So you eat meat and vegetables, animal and plant. They just have a better balance of nutrients coming in, provided you are eating a balanced way of life, of course. But if you are vegetarian, it's definitely more critical that you are getting blood tests from your doctor more often, just to keep an eye on your nutritional levels. Because the protein that you're getting, especially from plants, is just, the quality is not, the body can't use it as well as it can use animal protein. So number 2, when it comes to belly fat, you need to prioritize your protein, because that means that you're supporting your muscle, which means more muscle means better metabolism. Better metabolisms means you're able to work that area, that belly area, and ensure you're not storing excessive fat there. Yeah, because that metabolism is working to burn fat. So that is number 2. All right, number 3, this is really, really important. This is so important that there's actually a term for it, probably one that you are familiar with, even if you're not familiar with Menopot, which is an interesting one, right? The middle-aged pot belly we're talking about, of course. But number 3 is you need to manage your stress, because cortisol is absolutely a culprit when it comes to belly fat. I'm sure you've heard of the term stress belly, right? Stress belly. And sometimes I can visually see a person who is full of cortisol, full of stress. And it's not because they're all tense, but they often are. It's because what I notice is that they may have skinny little legs, skinny little arms, and then they've got a big pot belly that kind of does not fit in with the rest of their body as well. So cortisol is one of the leading culprits when it comes to belly fat, because we know that high stress means high cortisol. Of course, we all know this. And high cortisol drives your body again to store fat in your midsection, right? I'll say it again. High cortisol drives your body to store fat around your belly. Just like insulin, cortisol is a hormone. Insulin is a hormone. So if you've got high insulin or dysregulated insulin, and you've got high cortisol as well, the body's under stress, you are storing fat around your belly. You are storing fat there. Those two hormones working in conjunction with each other will absolutely determine where your body stores fat. And it will go to that mid area. There's a number of reasons why it goes for that mid area. There's a number of reasons why. Some of it they believe is a genetic holdover from when we lived in caves, and storing fat around the belly was protecting the organs. So that was one of the reasons why, it's a genetic throwback for us, that we were actually protecting the organs, potentially increasing the chance of living past 30, because most people, I think up until the 1900s, the average human lifespan was under 30. Majority of people did not live past 30. And I think it increased to like 35 in the 1900s, like 1840 or something. Lifespan went up to 35, it went up. That was pretty good. But majority of humans did not live past 30. So in order to protect them from, attacks and that area, those organs are the parts, they're the ones that do all the work. They do all the heavy lifting. Not much happens in the legs. But, if you get attacked in the midsection and the belly section, one of your organs get attacked, the chances of survival was pretty slender. So that storage of fat around that area under times of stress, science is telling us that there's some genetic markers there of our body going into protection mode, because your body doesn't know the difference when it comes to stress. Your body doesn't know that your cortisol is high because, you are being chased by a wild beast that wants to hunt you down, or you're stressed out because you're sitting in traffic and you're going to be 5 minutes, 10 minutes late for work. Or you're stressed out because, you know, you haven't felt like you've done really good by drinking all your water today. Some people do, right? Or you're stressed out because you jumped on the scales this morning and you didn't get a number that you wanted. Your body doesn't know the difference. It can't tell the difference. Your body just knows that suddenly you've gone, oh, right? And you've tensed up. And the body's response to that is danger. I'm going to release cortisol into the body so we can deal with whatever that danger is. We're going to deal with that danger. And when your cortisol is high, it's not a time to use fat as energy. It's a time to preserve fat. That's what the body does. When cortisol is high, the body will actually hold on to fat. It's not a time to use it. When your cortisol is high, it's not a time to rest. So you're on alert, right? This is danger. Cortisol equals alertness because extra tension in your body means that there's danger and the body's like, oh my God, I've got to be alert all the time. When you're stressed, it is not a time to digest. Your digestion actually stops or it slows down so much because it's not a time for your body to be going through the process of digesting food. So it's just kind of sitting there and it's hanging out, right? And when you are stressed, it is not a time to sleep either. It is a time to be on guard, to be alert. Because the other thing about cortisol, yes, it's your alertness hormone, so it makes you aware, you're ready, you're waiting for whatever's coming at you, but nothing's coming at you except you're going to be 5 minutes late for work and you might get looked at by your boss or get told off or you're freaking out because you jumped on the scales and you didn't like the answer. Your body, the body doesn't know that there's nothing chasing you down because the stress is stress. Cortisol is cortisol. It can't differentiate what you're freaking out about, but it does know it's not a time to do the bodily functions that you need every day. It's not a time to do that. It's a time to be alert. It's a time to be on the lookout. It's a time to store fat, and it loves to store it around your belly. So managing your stress is critical. Not just for your overall health, but if you are really thinking about that belly and you've tried every other way, have you tried managing your stress? Have you really sat down and looked at it? Are you a stress head? Are you someone who's always stressed out? Are you someone who responds to stressful situations negatively? Are you someone who always sees the bad things rather than the good things? Are you always worried? Are you a worrier? All of these things will lead to your body always being on alert and your body storing fat around your middle. When we talk about managing stress, the first thing we got to do is we got to accept that there is stress in our lives. Often people it's normal. We normalize being stressed out all the time, whereas in actual fact, that's not normal. Yes, a bit of stress is necessary as humans, but if you're chronically stressed from the moment you open your eyes and you grab your phone and you start scrolling away there and you check your emails and if you're stressed from the moment you open your eyes, you haven't dealt with what happened yesterday. So you wake up and you're like, oh, and here we go again. And you're thinking about what's happened in the past and you're worrying about what's about to happen in the future. If you're that person and you're always alert and you're always full of cortisol, right? We need to first accept that that is not normal. That is not a normal way to live. And in fact, you are living solely under the control of cortisol. And managing that is important. How do you manage it? How do you manage it? Well, one of the best ways that you can manage your stress is to get mobile. Activity, physical activity is the quickest way to reduce your stress load. You may feel like you're under stress at the time, when you're in the gym doing your workout or whatever it might be. But you know what? Once you finish that workout, you are flooded with positive endorphins, positive hormones, happy hormones. So for me, and I know for my husband as well, movement is a really important part of us managing the stress that we have through the business that we operate, family life. Being a husband and wife has stress as well, just everything, right? So movement's important. For some people, it's meditation. I believe very strongly in the power of meditation and being still and calm. For some people, it's reading, it's laughing, it's swimming, it's, doing yoga, it's doing Pilates, whatever it is that can take you to your happy place. Go there and spend as much time as you can there, because it's going to help not just in your belly, but your overall health as well. Managing your stress is really important. That's why it's number 3. All right, number 4. Number 4. And this again is really important, and it ties into everything we're talking about. Number 4, sleep is non-negotiable. So number 4, sleep, you got to get it. Don't think it doesn't play a part of this journey to ditching the Menopot, the middle-age spread, or just the mid-range spread. Because sleep is your body's reset button, and you need to do it every single day, and you need to do it in an amount that your body can actually do the full reset. Like, we may not get it every night perfectly, but if you're getting on average a good amount of sleep, you know that your body is more often than not hitting that reset button every single time you close your eyes and you jump into bed or wherever it is that you sleep, right? Because poor sleep disrupts those hormones. And we are talking a lot about hormonal balance when it comes to that belly fat, right? We've talked about cortisol, which is a hormone. We've talked about insulin, which is a hormone. But there's also other hormones that get disrupted when you do not get efficient sleep for yourself, for your body. Average human needs 7.5 to 9 hours every single night. If you're getting less than 7.5 hours on average, you are sleep deprived. And one of the things that happens hormonally when you're sleep deprived is that, number 1, there's more cortisol in your body, because cortisol is the hormone responsible for waking you up. And when your body is stressed from not sleeping, and it does get stressed, physically stressed from not sleeping, your body has more cortisol in it. So you're on this vicious cycle, right? So that's the first thing. Cortisol, the hormone, is out of control when we're not getting enough sleep. But the other hormones that also are impacted when you are sleep deprived is the 2 hormones that control your hunger. So I'm talking about your ghrelin, which is like your hunger hormone. Ghrelin, it's the one that's you're hangry. That's when you feel hangry. That's ghrelin at work, because you're angry because you're hungry, and you're hungry because you're angry. That wonderful combination, ghrelin. It is affected when you're sleep deprived. It is out of control. And the other hormone, your other hormone that controls hunger, is also out of control, and that is leptin. Now, leptin is the hormone that tells your brain that you're full, that you're satisfied, that you don't need to eat every couple of hours, right? So those 2 hormones are disrupted. And when those 2 hormones are disrupted and your ghrelin is dominant, so your hunger hormone is dominant, the chances of you over-consuming calories, over-consuming energy goes up by about 30% when you are sleep deprived. So you're more at risk of just eating too much and eating the wrong foods, the foods that are really high in energy but no nutrition. So I'm talking about our complex, our highly refined carbohydrates, our sugars and our starches and our wheats and our grains. And for me, pastries, always pastries and dairy and lots of cheese, right? All the wonderful things that were doing the most horrible things to my body. The chance of you consuming those foods goes up by about 30% when you are sleep deprived, right? And when you're eating those types of foods, you're increasing your blood glucose. When your blood glucose is up, you're increasing your insulin. You see where I'm going with this. It is all interconnected, right? Everything is connected. So even if you are focusing on your nutrition, getting a bit of movement in, right? Prioritizing your protein, eating in the right order, but you sleep like crap, like literally your sleep is poor, you are going to struggle. If belly fat is one of those areas that you're really working hard on and you're not getting enough sleep, think about the hormones that sleep deprivation disrupts, right? Think about those hormones. Yes, you end up eating more energy the next day by about 30%, or you're 30% more chances of doing it. You end up craving more of this energy because you're exhausted, and the body's like, just give us the highly refined carbohydrates because I can turn it into energy really quickly because it just goes straight through us. And then we're like, wow, I'm high on sugar, and that sleep, that 7.5 to 9 hours a night, it is as important as the foods and the beverages that you regularly consume. It is non-negotiable. So that's why it's number 4. Probably should have been number 1, but in no particular order. These are all important. All right. And number 5 is we need to focus on digestion and especially our gut health. Gut health is key here because a healthy gut microbiome will help to regulate all of these hormones, all of this metabolism. A healthy gut microbiome means we're reducing inflammation. And that video that I showed you guys right at the start, that video, that was inflammation. That was inflammation that you saw. 100%. Oh, I've frozen. What a shame. That's why I've only got 3 people on. I hope you guys will come back. I didn't lose my link. It was really weird, but anyway. So number 5 is gut health. God, I don't know when I froze, but there you go. I didn't even notice. I'm still talking. Oh, what a shame. I'm saying I'm still live, so hopefully it'll come back to you guys in a minute. Hopefully you'll get on soon. I do apologize. God, the Wi-Fi here is terrible. I've got to start doing it on my phone. So that's number 5. Support your gut health, healthy gut microbiome. Inflammation is an absolute major driver of stubborn belly fat. How can you support your gut microbiome? Make sure you're getting your yogurts, like your prebiotic coconut yogurts, your sauerkrauts, your kimchis, and your miso. I'm going to end it there. I don't even know if I'm live anymore. I'm still talking. Doesn't matter. Hope you guys have a fabulous day. If you did come back and watch this as it's been uploading, have a fabulous day, everyone. We'll see you all real soon. Back here, BHK Central. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.